Davey Tree is with us now, and we have Brian Borkowicz and Blake Snedaker. And you may recognize Blake because he is on the back of our brochures. And Davey Tree is one of our Park District sponsors, and we are proud to call you that. So welcome. You know, there has been serious issue here with our ash trees. And there's a lot of misinformation out there. And Brian and Blake, if you can set us straight on what the problems are and how we can correct them.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for having us. We're always proud to help out the Park District, so we're definitely glad to be here. But I guess we'll go on a little bit of history, you know, about
Sure.
EAB real quick.
EAB,
Emerald Ash Borer. Yes, it's a non-native pest. They came here from China, obviously. Started in the Michigan area from Canada about 7-8 years ago. And at that time, it wasn't discovered right away, and it was probably in the area for about 7-8 years prior to that before they really identified the problem. And that's one of the issues that we have with this insect. And at the onset, it was a real kind of knee-jerk reaction that we thought we can control this thing through cutting everything, cutting fire lines. Sanitation was the rule of the day. They consulted foresters to do this, and needless to say, you know, it really didn't work. It really continued to get out of control, and it's really mainly spread through firewood moving firewood.
Really?
So it's very important right now throughout the entire infested areas, which Illinois is now one of them, not to move firewood. That's the most important message that we can bring, I think, to the residents, is not to move it around. So anyone that has firewood out there, keep it at home. Don't move it around. That's how it moves from one area that's not infested.
So in other words, if I've got a firewood pile and it's got some ash and there's some emerald ash borer beetles in there, burn it. But don't take it across town or out of state to give it to somebody else.
That's right.
Correct.
Exactly. That wood is
Contaminated?
Contaminated. It may or may not be. So there's signs up on the roads about the quarantine areas, about the firewood, but the main thing is we don't transfer that. We don't need to. Why do that?
Okay. And how's that going?
Well, I mean, there's good education efforts, and that's where a lot of the funding's, you know, going towards, is education, to let people know not to move that around. But, you know, people that don't come in contact with that information, then they still move it around, and that's the main reason why it spreads.
And now we're getting to firewood season, and so, you know, we're seeing the stores stocking the firewood and, you know, other vendors on the corners and so forth.
Yes.
Have they gotten the message? Have there been restrictions?
Well,
or something?
the state has good protocols in place that talks about, they go out and outreach to these firewood vendors, that they have strict protocols that they're supposed to follow. But the main reason why it gets spread is from homeowners. Homeowners, campers, you know, hunters, things like that. Not to pick on fellow hunters, but they end up moving it around and not realizing it. That's how they spread it. So the important thing is to keep that at home. But the important thing to learn really from EAB, as far as control measures go, besides not moving firewood, is I think there was a little bit of an issue consulting foresters right off the bat, because I think if they would have embraced some of the arborists earlier on, you know, we're much more apt to dealing with single trees and managing single plants. And there is protocols you can put in place to maintain your ash tree if it's an important resource in the long run. I think it's because it started with the forestry people, and I think as a general rule this is true, that you're not going to contain this thing completely. But on an individualized basis, you can control this thing over a long period of time. It's not...
So it's kind of isolate as opposed to... Right.
Exactly.
So how do you treat a tree that may have EAB, or don't you?
Blake, I'll throw that to you.
There's a few different options. As far as treatments go, they're preventative treatments. Once a tree has been infested and you start seeing the signs of it, the tree's gone. Not much you can do with it. But as far as preventative, we want to get the products into the tree before the EAB attacks. That way it's there and is highly effective, so it can't get established. It can't get in there and lay its eggs.
So what could a homeowner do now, first of all, to find out if their tree is infected and how to prevent it if it's not?
Well, you definitely would want to, obviously contact an arborist, a certified arborist, and there's two main governing bodies of arborists. One is the International Society of Arboriculture, so you'd want to have a ISA certified arborist come, and then the other, probably even more important, would be what's called the Tree Industry Association, the tree care TCIA industry. And they actually are more commercial arborists that are trained and accredited to do this type of work. And that's really important because we're trained a lot more in ethics and making sure that we are recommending the right treatments. And one thing I can't stress more than that people need to concentrate on the basics. And a lot of times that gets lost in the shuffle, and that is, the tree needs to be in perfect health. And it starts with making sure it's pruned, that it's watered, that it's fertilized, that it's mulched, that we have every positive on the side of that tree before we start doing a treatment program. Because if we don't have that, you're going to have very limited success at controlling that pest, on that tree. And that goes for really any type of tree, absolutely. And a lot of times we forget some of that stuff, and that's really an important part of the whole treatment process, is keeping the tree healthy. So.
Right.